Cultivating Harmony. Today we're going to be talking all about what types of food we should be eating according to Chinese medicine during the winter season. If you haven't already, make sure you check out last week's video, which is all about our behavior and how we should be conducting ourselves during the winter season in order to bring more harmony and well-being into your life. So in Chinese medicine, winter has officially begun last week. So now we are ready to really start incorporating some foods that are considered to be nourishing during the winter season to our kidney and bladder meridians. Now, the kidney and bladder meridians are also represented by the winter season. And these meridians are also related to things like the ears as well as our bones. Since bones can be represented by the winter season, it's actually a good idea to start incorporating more bones into your diet. And what I mean by that are foods that are soups and stews that still have the bone in them. And when they're cooked for a long time, it really helps to release a lot of the bone marrow. Even incorporating gelatin, which is basically ground down bone, into your diet is something that's going to be highly nourishing during the winter season, especially to the kidney and bladder meridians. And since our teeth are also considered bone, this is also going to really help support our teeth as well. So you can do things such as bone broth, eating bone marrow on toast, eating meat with the bone still inside, and any kind of gelatinous foods are great ways to incorporate bones into your diet. So also in Chinese medicine, the flavor that's associated with the winter season is actually the salty flavor. So anything that is salty naturally, I'm not saying, go ahead and throw 10 pounds of salt on your food, no, not at all. But food that comes from the sea. So since the sea is naturally salty, a lot of seafood would be considered nourishing during the winter season simply because it comes from the sea. All the seafoods, any types of fish, lobster, crab, oysters, mussels, shrimp, even foods such as seaweed are all considered salty flavored in Chinese medicine. And another food that would be considered salty in flavor is actually millet. And millet is not a very common grain that's used in the United States, but it's fairly easy to find once you do, and it's really easy something to add to any of your other grains such as rice or oatmeal, anything you are eating where you can really throw it in with your quinoa. It's very similar to quinoa, but it has more of a cooler temperature than quinoa. Quinoa is considered more warming to the body. So there's also a color that is assigned to each of the elements or each of the seasons, and since the color of winter in Chinese medicine is black or blue, incorporating black or blue foods is also a really great way and a simple one to add into your meals. Two of my favorite black foods are actually black sesame, and that's another thing that's not commonly used in the US, but it's so good, and there's so many different ways you can incorporate it. You can make a black sesame milk. You can also incorporate like a black sesame paste into bread. Really great and yummy ways to just add that and help support your kidneys. Another great option for black or blue food are actually black beans. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but there's actually two types of black beans. There's black soybeans, which are usually just called black beans, and there's also black turtle beans. Either one is a great option to use. They're both black, and so that's really what we're looking for as far as black or blue foods, that they both support the kidneys. So really the foods that we should be eating are foods that are soups or stews that are long, slowly cooked over the fire. These are things that are going to be really just made up of mostly leftovers, which is really what you find in the winter. The winter is kind of a time of death and dying, and that's also part of the life cycle that the winter is considered in terms of the elements, the kidneys and the bladder. All these things are related to death and dying and eventually rebirth. But that's also kind of a theme that we want to keep even within our meals, that kind of idea that there's nothing fresh. It's not spring, it's not summer. We don't have any fruits or veggies really growing. So if we don't have anything available, we're only using what is storable, and a lot of times those are meats and our root veggies. So these simple meals are really what we should be incorporating right now. There's nothing fresh. Everything is kind of dead or dying or in the downhill progression. Even foods that are rehydrated, right? We're kind of bringing them back to life in a sense of, dried mushrooms, any kind of beans or legumes like I mentioned earlier with the black beans, any kind of dried veggie, really. Even using rehydrated foods right now are really the way to go. And by using the slow stewing soup method with these things, you're really, like I said, going to kind of help bring these foods back to life and help them to release all of their goodness that they've been storing up. So the last type of foods that you want to be incorporating during the winter season are organ foods. Now this also kind of goes along with the death and dying idea. And a lot of times, people are not so pleased to eat organs here, especially, in the United States. But one thing that science does tell us about organ meats is that they're very high in metals. So magnesium, copper, all these things that our body needs to function tend to be very high in. And so if we look at the element cycle in Chinese medicine, before water comes metal, the metal element. So we can also say that the metal element actually nourishes our water element. So we can kind of understand this correlation in a way that these, high metal foods, which organ meats are, sometimes you can even kind of taste the metallic flavor in any type of organ meat. Since this food is high in metals, we can say that this is going to nourish the next element, which is the kidneys, the bladder, the ears, the bones. These are all things that are related. So winter is really a time when I know so many people struggle with their health and well-being, and so really eating these foods to help support and strengthen your kidneys and bladder also help to, as long as your digestion is doing well, and if it's not doing well, make sure you check out my digestion videos. But if your digestion is strong, then you'll be able to extract more qi from your food. These are foods that are going to help support your life force energy, and I think that's what most of us would like to do. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. This helps me to continue making these types of videos and helping you to maintain and hopefully improve your health and well-being with a Chinese medicine perspective. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.